And welcome to this Insta Live of ET Now, where we're talking about your investment, and this is the first Insta Live for this new year. And with that, very happy new year and happy 2023 to all our viewers. And for this Insta Live, we have Feroze Azeez from Anand Rathi Private Wealth. Feroze, welcome to the show and a very happy new year to you. And with that wish, I'm hoping that in this session we are going to get a lot of guru mantras for investments in 2023. So Feroze basically will be taking your questions today on this Insta Live. So I request all our viewers who are watching this, please put in your queries, specific queries for any fund or maybe any investment strategy you want to know from Feroze. He is going to address your queries live. And today, the topic of discussion also apart from queries would be 3 important principles that you need to follow in this entire year. But before that, what is the kind of trigger or what is the kind of year we are looking at, which you think is going to pan out? It's different from 2020 because a lot of volatility in terms of triggers and in terms of economic instability. It is still there, right? The things that we had started or the trigger we had started 2020 more or less are still there, but then India on its own ground stands strong. So how do you see this 2023 panning out?
First, Happy New Year to you as well, Kavita, and to the viewers. How does the year look 2023? To my mind, of course, there's going to be uncertainty. See, that's the nature of the game. See, economy and the global environment has not been conducive always. So 80% of the time, there's going to be skepticism around you. Now you have to decipher all pieces of information, not just smaller pieces of information. When you look at economy, the biggest pitfall is it has, let's assume, 100 pieces of data. You can look at 20 gloomy things to create a bear case of a negative sentiment. You can also at the same time find 20 other pieces of information which will make you feel positive. So it's very important to be balanced about what your opinion is going to be. So Kavita, coming to your point of how is 2023 looking like, to my mind 2023 is again looking from an India standpoint very favorable. What has happened over the last 1 year which has stood out is we have outperformed the global market like how? Not just on the return, on the risk parameter as well.
How?
See, volatility is a numerical integer measurable.
Sure.
One of the lowest volatilities in the global context has been India, not just the return. See, volatility is measured in something called standard deviation. Not getting too intimidated with the word, but it has been significant, 30% lower than S&P 500. US market, what's the perception? Those are the big boys, those are safe. India is 30% lower on risk in 2022 relative to the big boys. Like an economy like the US, if you've beaten it on the risk along with the return, it is just phenomenal. If I made more return with more risk, then it's okay. But making more return for the full year at 30% lower the risk is just commendable. So if you don't see this as an inflection point for the Indian economy, you're not seeing the writing on the wall.
Alright, so I can see a lot of viewers have joined. Once again, I would request all of you, if you have any possible queries on your investment related queries, just put into the comment box that you can see and Feroze will address it. But then let's move on to our topic of discussion, which are the principles, 3 specific principles that you have to follow for investment portfolio if you talk about 2023. So the guidelines or the entire matter that you just laid out, how would you translate this into the principles that you are about to explain?
See, if I speak of principles, which are the most important building blocks of one's investing journey, sooner that you have great principles, larger the likelihood that you're going to retire rich, you're going to have all your goals taken care of. One principle which I think is the biggest principle which is missing is measurement. Quite a few people go with narratives, right? So don't go with narratives. We are not speaking of politics here. We're speaking about your money, right? So measure before you act. Measure before you decide. Now let me decipher this statement by giving you examples. Have you compounded the per annum return of your gold investment? Most people don't. What is your per annum return on your gold investment? What's your per annum return on the real estate investment if you have made any? What is the per annum return on your direct equity? What is the difference between having bought a home and if you didn't buy the home, extra home, if you bought Nifty for yourself, what would be the relative performance? So measure everything in the business of money management is the first step. I see several HNIs. I met an HNI.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going into ETFs.
Okay.
I said, great, please go ahead with ETFs. Why do you have this thought? He said, I read it on newspaper. Warren Buffett also told that you should go for ETFs.
Okay.
I said, why don't you measure all your investments, transaction by transaction, and find out whether you have beaten Nifty or not. And he had himself beaten Nifty by 2.7% every year. Now when you measure that you have beaten 2.7% and he had 20 crores. He's not a small tiny guy. He has got 20 crores. He has decided to move to ETF just because people told him so. But he himself is letting go of 2%, 2.7% which he has made over the last 8 years. And also the last 3 years he has made 2.7%. So one size doesn't fit all. Measurement will give you great decisions. So measure everything which can be measured. Like just a minute before we were saying, why don't you measure the risk?
Yeah.
It is measurable.
Yeah.
So go looking for measurements and measure and then decide rather than go with narratives.
All right. But then each investment instrument will have a different measure of measuring the returns or the risk. We will get on to that, but then we have a few questions coming in, and we have a follower who is asking you about Canada Rebecca Blue Chip. That's from Mr. Baker. Wants to know about this fund.
Yes, see, firstly, when you have a fund like Canada Rebecca Blue Chip, it's a large cap fund, as the name suggests. Okay, large cap fund as a category. We've done some analysis where there are about 15 odd categories. 8 categories are the most relevant. One of them is definitely large cap. Don't overexpose yourself to large cap as a category. There are other categories which more fruitfully participate in larger companies, like a flexi cap category. So we reduced our weightage a year and a half back from the large cap where we were 26% down to 12%. So first point I'm making is Canada Blue Chip is a okay scheme, good scheme, you can stay invested. But if you're overexposed to the large cap as a category, you may want to consider an exit from the same scheme which we are speaking about.
But then talking about large caps, do you think it's still the time to go the passive way? Large caps?
See, I personally think the large cap which I have chosen for myself has beaten Nifty. The day where I feel that these 40 schemes which are in the large cap category, I'm not able to find those 2 which don't beat, I will go into passive. But again, coming back to your point, I have measured several portfolios of other distributors, other advisors. Quite a few of them are not beating Nifty.
Okay.
So please measure it. If you're not beating Nifty, to change your distributor, go to direct, go to passive. I completely agree. Right? You can do this provided you are not beating Nifty. If you were with Anand, Rathi, if you have beaten Nifty, then you don't have to worry. So you're absolutely right with that question. What you're alluding to is in the large cap category.
Yeah.
Nifty is not a bad idea. Index fund is not a bad idea.
So I think measuring your investment and see how they have fared and comparing it with the other, with the peers especially, is going to be the mantra for 2023. But then what's going to be that measuring benchmark? Like for example, you talk about different asset classes. How can one go around measuring and comparing?
See, you have to first compare all asset classes with each other.
Okay.
Very important. Most people don't do it. Now, for example, let's assume I have a 10 lakh rupee corpus. I am the owner of this corpus. I can do whatever with it. I can buy gold. Nobody is going to force me. There's no regulatory pressure on me to only be in equity or debt or real estate or gold. So compare all of them. Now, for example, if you compare gold with Nifty, what is the output? So what you compare each other is, first is comparison between asset classes is very, very important. Now when we have a department which is called the real estate exit department. We exited 39 properties. So we compared all these 39 properties with Nifty when they were bought, when they were sold. Only 2 out of these 39 houses which we sold for our clients in the marketplace have beaten Nifty. So now I know out of 39 properties held for 12.8 years, 37 have not beaten Nifty, 2 of them have beaten Nifty. So when I now fall for a builder's pitch, now I know that the chance of beating Nifty buying an extra home is low. Data says. Then we went back and analyzed 100 more properties of clients who have not been sold, which are not sold. There also we found 87 of them have not beaten Nifty. So now I'll make a decision more wisely.
One question is coming from small cap category. How is I think Tata small cap fund?
Yes, so let me bifurcate this question into two parts, Kavita. One is how is small cap as a category? For India, small cap as a category is a great lottery. Okay, having said which, your patience levels in a small cap have to be astronomically high. That's two. Three, our economy is growing at 7-8% real and 5-6% inflation. So your nominal growing at 12%. In a country like India, finding businesses which can grow at 20-25% is not very difficult. In the US, it's very difficult. If the economy is growing at 1% or even receding, and inflation is 2-3-4%, it's very difficult to find a business which can grow and compound at 20%. So Indian companies, you can find several small cap businesses working in an environment of a 12-13% nominal GDP to grow at 20-25%. So small cap, if held for 5-7 years, the odds that you will beat the large cap counterparts is great 80% probability. So, but your patience levels have to be very high when you're looking at small cap. Now coming to Tata small cap, I wouldn't buy it. Why? Because when you're going to smaller companies, at least go for a large AMC with a small company. You can't double up your risk. Right? So in small companies, if I go into a Chirag Setalwad, HDFC small cap, I feel safe because I'm going to a very large fund.
There's a question for that also. HDFC small cap, yeah.
Wonderful. I think HDFC small cap has something very unique. It's a very large fund, but how Chirag Setalwad has managed not making this largeness a big disadvantage for him is a sight to see. So I personally think HDFC small cap is a great fund.
What's the strategy with the large fund investments which the fund manager is opting for, and how is it of a disadvantage?
It's a big disadvantage, especially in a small cap.
Next time,
fund. See, when the fund
ये
manager
बाहर वाला बच जाता है उसको बोलना मुझे ना ये देना रोड में
10,000 crore fund, if you put
ये बेकार
3% of that money, it's 300 crores. 300 crores of a company which is 7,000 crores. He can't sell it overnight. If he knows that this company is going to give a bad quarterly result, he will not have the agility to get out and get back in, because when he is trying to sell 300 crores, he itself will bring the price down, and it will be, that's called the impact cost. The fund manager itself can change the price. So a large fund in the small cap category is not so easy to manage. But Chirag Setalwad has done a great job given that constraint.
Alright, so I can see a lot of questions coming in, but if at all you want to ask in your queries related to any mutual fund or any investment strategy, mark your question on the comment box and we will address your question live on this Instagram live that's happening now. One question that's coming from the viewers, banks are offering good fixed deposit rate. Okay, you were talking about small cap. Obviously, you can't be comparing a small cap fund with a fixed deposit rate that you're getting right now. But then, what about the higher interest rate of fixed deposit? We would really want to record that, especially for PSU banks where people really feel comfortable and safe parking their money.
See, our banks safe in India, commercial banks, of course they're very safe. There has been no instance in India where a commercial bank has defaulted. There have been speed breakers, but there's RBI stepped in and make sure that the depositors are not harmed in a commercial bank. Point one. Point two, cooperative banks have definitely, several of them have gone default, and there is still a struggle to get back people's money. That's point two. Point three, high interest rates with low tax regime for yourself is a great combination. See, if you're in the 0%, 10% tax bracket, FD is a great instrument to say the least. Because if you're getting a 7.5% interest, even 8%, I'm sure we're going to get there in the next 3-4 months. And if I'm at a zero tax bracket practically with all my exemptions, then I'm getting 8% net of tax. That's brilliant. If you're in the highest tax bracket, it's the dumbest idea to do. See, for the same instrument could be very relevant for one person and could be the most stupidest idea for the guy who's in the highest tax bracket. Now I'm in the highest tax bracket. I would never touch an FD with a barge pole. I will rather lend to Government of India through a debt fund and make 6.5% post-tax rather than an FD.
We will elaborate on that, but then talking about all the viewers who actually want to start investing now, and since the pandemic we've seen people have gotten more aware and they're actually educating themselves when it comes to investing through mutual funds. So the question I want to ask you is, SIP से ही होगा?
देखिए, SIP से जो चार चीजें होंगी वो होंगी.
चार चीजें क्या हो सकती हैं? डिसिप्लिन मेंटेन हो सकता है.
डिसिप्लिन मेंटेन हो सकता है, अफोर्डेबिलिटी हो सकती है, टैक्स एफिशिएंसी हो सकती है, प्रोफेशनल मैनेजमेंट इन द मोस्ट डिवर्सिफाइड फैशन हो सकती है. ये सब चीजें आपको कहीं और नहीं मिल सकती. 1000 रुपए लेके मैं 500 शेयर तो खरीद नहीं सकता, 50 शेयर क्या एक शेयर नहीं खरीद सकता. सो यू विल गेट डिवर्सिफिकेशन, यू विल गेट लो कॉस्ट, यू विल गेट टैक्स एफिशिएंसी एंड यू विल गेट to commit your future savings. right?
That's important.
Like when you buy a credit, if you use a credit card, you are spending your future savings.
आलू लग रहा है उसको वाइब्रेट
SIP
कर
is
रहा
just the inverse of a credit card.
है
You
वो
are
टच का
committing
मोटर
your
पे
future
गुरु गुरु उड़ रहा
savings to
है
something which is more productive.
सो ऑफ ही कर दिया मैंने
चलिए, so यहाँ पर if at all you want to ask question about your SIPs, do put your question in the comment box. In the meantime, we will move on to our next principle, the second principle for 2023.
Yes, see, second principle is don't fall for skeptics. हमेशा pessimistic लोग आपके इर्द गिर्द होंगे ही. I'm not saying that
गलत पैसा लगा दिया है,
हाँ, गलत पैसा लगा दिया या बोलेंगे सब कुछ खराब चल रहा है.
कुछ खराब चल रहा है.
सब कुछ खराब चल रहा है. वो जो लोग होते हैं वो ऑप्टिमिज्म को मिस कर जाते हैं.
हाँ.
क्योंकि हर साल 15-20 साल से मैंने देखा हर साल कोई ना कोई बुरी खबर तो थी. There was a bad news. You should not over process pessimism. See, the person who's pessimistic is speaking about 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, but you're investing. A person who's looking at that interview or information is got his retirement 25 years from now. Don't be overly skeptical. Optimistic people add value to themselves, add value. Don't be maverick. I'm not saying सब आंखें बंद कर लो कोई भी दुनिया में कुछ भी खबर गलत आए तो, but be balanced. Don't be too skeptical. 2013 people were speaking of tapering. 2014 election आ गया, कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो ही जाएगी. तो बहुत वैल्यू लोगों की मिस हुई है. Please don't miss value just because people are very skeptical. India is a growth story. 10-15 years you will make a lot of money.
Third principle.
Third principle and the last one, always first lay the core. What is the core portion of the portfolio? Mutual funds. Conventional category is the most important. What is the core portfolio? Flexi cap, large cap, small cap, mid cap, all these are core portions. Don't look at past performance, buy yourself a NASDAQ fund to begin with. Okay, so satellite of the portfolio has to be succeeding the core portion. पहले आप अपनी बुनियाद बनाएं, फिर इमारत खड़ी करें. Don't jump the gun and do class 10 before you finish class 5.
Alright, एक आखिरी सवाल उसके बाद मुझे ये लाइव भी खत्म करना है. अल्पेश आस्किंग, मैम म्यूचुअल फंड के बारे में ज़्यादा कैसे बता करें? या तो आप हमारे टाइम पर हमारे शो सुनिए और फिर उसको सुनिए. ये एक सही और सटीक तरीका है म्यूचुअल फंड के बारे में जानने का. उसके अलावा कहाँ पढ़ाई कर सकते हैं?
देखिए, आज की डेट में बहुत पढ़ाई कर सकते हैं. पहले आपको निर्णय करना है कि क्या पढ़ना है, वरना बहुत कंफ्यूजिंग हो जाता है. आपको पढ़ना है कि कितनी स्कीमें हैं, कितनी कैटेगरी है, और उस आपने जिस स्कीम में पैसा लगाया उसको थोड़ा बारीकी से करें. वो सब जो भी फंड मैनेजर है आप उनका नाम देखें, उनका ट्विटर हैंडल फॉलो करें. तो आपके कोई पैसे प्रोफेशनल मैनेज कर रहा है तो उसको फॉलो करना ना भूलें. आप जिसमें इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया उसकी पढ़ाई बाद में करेंगे. पहले जो इन्वेस्टमेंट कर लिया उसकी पढ़ाई तो कर लें. अगर वो हो चुकी है देन यू गो टू लर्निंग नंबर 2, लर्निंग नंबर 3. So you have to go in chronological order of importance of information which is relevant to you rather than the world of information. That's my.
Alright, so Alpesh, all you can do also is just keep following us और हम आपको बताते रहेंगे धीरे-धीरे कैसे आगे बढ़ना है. Well, with that it's a wrap for this Insta Live. Thank you so much for being part of it. And for all you viewers, अगर आपको भी अपने सवाल पूछना है, तो you have any question related to any of your investment product or your investment strategy, mark in your question. We will include these questions on our show, The Money Show, and बनो अपना finance minister on 18 Hours. Thank you so much for watching.